Haidong! In this video, we're going to talk about aspects of Bankuk 2. We're going to talk about two new attacks, right, as well as one concept. Now again, this concept is something that we've seen in many previous forms, and it does definitely show up in our previous Bankuk, but this is a really, this form establishes and instantiates this pretty well. So let's first talk about the beginning of the form. So this is going to be one of the applications, and then we're going to talk about that concept once we have a little bit more of a grounding. So let's first talk about the introduction to 2. So the 3 vertical strikes in the beginning of the form, right? So again, just to kind of reiterate, you're kind of here, again, I'm just going to go in kind of teaching mode as well. So as you're doing the combination, really think about your glutes, right? So here we're in so to say, again, feel your left glute activate, and as you shift into your bomse, really feel that shift going from left to right as you pop up, right? And then 1, 2, 1, 2. Just so we know what we're talking about when I'm mentioning the 3 vertical strikes, because otherwise the interpretation is going to be kind of strange. But let's first talk about some interpretations, some applications that might be out there, and then go with the one that I like. So the first one that we're going to talk about is simply I am striking 3 people and dispatching them. This is kind of like the most superficial level. It's kind of like the same thing we did with Form 1, with the idea of like, okay, if there goes one person, here comes another, here comes another. I just keep striking them that way. Cool. So we could think of it that way, right? So maybe someone's behind me and I vertical strike them. Someone's coming to my right, vertical strike them, and then I'm done. And I kind of continue off going into my, my merry way. Obviously, this one has a lot of problems with it, right? So first of all, the technique that we're doing is relatively close range. In fact, it is going to be very close range when we start talking about the way I like to talk about it. Right, so if we're here and I'm striking you, notice, so first of all, I'm in bomse, right? So I'm trying to, it's a little more evasive, so I can probably still strike you, but I'm probably in your cutting distance, right? So by the time, so first of all, my head is really open, by the time the tip of the sword comes out, I'm probably already being dispatched. So most likely, this is not going to be striking the person behind me, because, first of all, distance and timing, this is not the fastest technique in the world. So you're open, you're slow, you're probably out of range, you're probably going to die, right? So especially if the person is, again, your rank or about your rank, that's kind of like how we generally assume as we go through our forms, right? So the general idea is you're fighting someone like your rank or like one below or something like that. So this is not going to work, right? So I can't dispatch 3 people this way, right? Again, that's really, really close range. It's just not going to work. Additionally, so another thing that we do, this is kind of like the opposite of Sangsu 7, right? Where we use our center cut as a very singular clear, right? Okay, so maybe I'm clearing in 3 directions. Doesn't really, again, work. So the nice thing about Sangsu 7 was there's one person. I want that one person to back off. Bang, I get back, and then I strike, right? What about this one? If I am warding off people in 3 directions, so first of all, if it's a vertical strike, it's 1 person each, right? Like if I'm if you are my enemy and I do this, you're not threatened at all. Okay, so maybe I'm just clearing back 3 people. Again, doesn't make sense when I could just do this, right? Right? Like that's gonna be a lot easier to clear off many people. And in fact, in our next form, we're going to start talking about using those crosscuts to our advantage, right? But yeah, so that also doesn't seem to make sense. So what are we gonna do? As I hinted at oh so merrily, this is close range. Now, what I really like about this combination, the reason why I'm kind of teasing it out from all the other portions, is that the idea behind this, again, not new, but it's instantiated in such a way that's just really interesting just to think about. We're going to do 3 cuts with 3 different target areas, doing 3 different things against 1 person. Now again, have we struck 1 person with several different techniques in the past? Again, Sangsu 1, right? The earliest possible example. So I could be doing one person, you're dead. Okay, here's another. No, right? Like the idea is like, oh, that's one person, you blocked. You blocked, and you just keep going towards that one person. Again, it's form one. It's intended to kind of teach you how to strike. But again, Sangsu 3 is another great example where I'm continually striking, again, this one person until I get that nice, perfect strike against their neck, and then I'm going to check and keep going. Obviously, don't keep your hand open. That was for dramatic flair. But yeah, so we do strike a singular person several times before. Let's talk about this one in particular, and again, why it makes me so happy. So again, what's nice about this is you're striking the same person 3 different places with the same cut, but it's all doing different kind of things. It's kind of really cool. So the idea here is someone, so again, we're in our oh so fun house, say, they're trying to murder me to death. Like, okay, so it's probably going to be a center cut, because that's why we're doing 11. So I'm going to first of all catch it. So notice again, this is kind of interesting aspect of this guard. A center cut, all you need to do is this, and it's protecting my head, which is pretty cool. All that's going to happen, actually, in fact, I'll face you, dear listener. Here, they give you a center cut, all you do is right? As they make contact here, so before it hits like the center mass of your sword, you're going to start to really aggressively move towards them, right? So as they cut towards you, so again, like you're fighting someone who's trying to murder you, not make you look good, right? So they're not going to be like, oh, I'm going to cut you, I'm just going to fall through and just like run off to the sunset. No, they're trying to kill you, right? So if you're here, you have to be really close, so make intercept. And as you're kind of like pushing past, notice I'm going to be going past their, their side, their rib, right? So from here, again, catch, and I'm going to strike. Now, what am I striking? Back in the knee, right? So let's sever them hamstrings, right? So it's a lot easier to get away from the opponent if they have one leg. Obviously, they still have their leg, right? Because you're just going to, like, again, cut the hamstrings. But what's nice about this, again, so very nice intercept, receive, and as I receive, I'm going to slide in aggressively, back of the knee, blowout. Cool. Nice. Like, that's pretty cool, right? Okay. I'm just going to go over this way. So notice I'm not going to actually block in this one, right? This is going to be all about just continuous motion, which is another thing we're going to talk about in a little bit. But yeah, so back of the knee, sever them hamstrings. Continue this way. Pop, right? And that's going to be aiming for, again, maybe the inside of the hip, right? Because what they're doing here is they're here, you got their hamstring, they're going to drop. We're going to aim for the other hamstring or the back of the leg, pretty much like whatever you really want to go for, right? So they're here, as they're turning, you can aim for, again, the inside of the thigh. Again, there's a lot of good arteries you can aim for here, and if you're lucky, you can even hit just the back knee again. You can blow out the other knee, you can slice the underside of the thigh. You could aim for like their glute or back or something. That's going to be a weird angle, right? But this naturally has like that orthogonal angle you can strike. You're going to pop, right? And as you pop again, they're going to keep twisting out, right? Again, just to have that fun visualization. So that you strike, they start twisting because that knee's out. Strike again, they keep twisting, and now pop, going for the head, right? Because at this point, so if I go for obviously the head with a vertical strike, with the first one, so if I'm here and I try to strike, pop, I'm probably going to be twisting in this way, right? Because my knee is out. Even this knee is the one that was forward. I'm going to start twisting. Okay, like I'm going like on 45. Strike again. Now you're going to be really open for that nice finisher. And then you're going to turn happily and turn defense. And that's another reason why, again, this is most likely really finishing this one person off, is because you turn your back to this opponent for a pretty prolonged period. That's a lot of P's. Pretty prolonged period, right? Because we're here, and I'm really fighting this one person for a hot minute, right? So I have to know that person's gonzo, so it means it's probably not, again, that clear combination where there were at least two other people now going towards me. Yeah, so again, I just really like this one because it really gives you a visualization of what you're doing, right? So you aim for the back of the knee, aiming for the upper thigh, aiming for the head. You kind of like notice them twisting, and this is why you're having that nice, quick, smashing cuts. It's just fun. So I know I took too much time on that one just to kind of explain it. It's interesting, right? But that said, let's use that one combination we just covered to talk about the concept I want to introduce. And this is going to be cutting to your extremes. Now, what do I mean by that, right? So, like, all right, cutting to my extremes. All right, am I going mad? Like, no, like, all right. So what you could do, I'm not going to recommend it, but what you could do as you go through this form is be very Sang-Soo-y, right? So do it as if it was a Sang-Soo form, and be like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, cool. So we have like 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and then moving on to the other person. But notice how constrained that is. This is also going to be true for most of Sang-Soo. Sang-Soo, you're all about that very almost aristocratic centeredness, right? Versus Bankuk is just about crushing your opponent, which is why it's so much fun. So you could absolutely restrain yourself, right? So okay, I am done. I am moving over to you. Pop, pop. I am done. Do, do, do. Versus cutting to your extremes and kind of like rolling through them. So let's take a look, right? So where does my cut naturally end with a vertical strike? Okay, it's going to end here. Okay, I don't want to just stop it and then move. Let's keep it moving. Pop, pop, pop. Okay, that was slow motion. Let's just ramp it up a little bit. Like, okay, like, again, going to the extremes of like where your body goes without hurting itself, right? So again, okay, so pop, 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 right? So I'm going to go to my natural extremes and just be able to twist my body underneath it or change the circumstance so I can keep moving. So it's not all about cutting, stopping, and then moving again, right? This is, now that said, you actually do that in number 1, where you do the double strike this way. But with this one, again, you're just roiling that power. You can almost feel the momentum. It's like smash, 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 right? And this is not the only point. So if you also think about the later in the form, where we do our spin crosscut, right? We're here, pop. I naturally stop behind me because I'm stepping with it, right? So as opposed to this was in Sang-Soo, I wouldn't probably do, just trying to get it back to where it was, I probably would stop here, and notice again how constrained I feel with this. It's like, I am done with you, I am moving forward, right? This is similar to, again, what we do in Sang-Soo 6, but again, remember what happens in Sang-Soo 6. We can actually end behind us if we're doing high guard. Let's keep playing with that, like, all right. So, like, just keep going through the form, right? Here, smash through, where you naturally end. Again, what do I do when I hit my end? I'm going to change the circumstances around it so I can keep moving. Here, step, high guard. And then again, right? Kind of like just keep the momentum going by going to your extremes. I know that this is a little bit more of an ethereal concept, but it's a really interesting one. Again, this is almost like a liberating sword style. You can just like go all out and just tweak the circumstances so you can just keep going without damaging yourself. So again, Bankuk is really good about that power, as we talked about last time, but without that, damaging aspect. So anyway, so take this idea again, cerebrally this might make sense, but go through your form, kind of see where your body naturally ends and how your body moves to accommodate it. So take that and play with it. Now, a third thing that I would like to talk about is going to be using a crosscut as a finisher. Now, you might think like, you've totally done that, but think about it, right? So this may not be the very first time, right? Because we probably have done it. So for example, in Shimsong, we do use it as a finisher, although we do kind of finish it later with another cut. But we usually use crosscuts as clears. Now, again, you could make an argument that like, oh, I am slicing someone in half, and then I'm going to fight you, fight you, fight you. Maybe, right? But more likely, again, it's more of a clear. And we almost always use crosscuts as clears. Again, there are counterexamples, but this is the one that has a lot more, oomph behind it. Again, abbreviating it because I don't want to get in trouble, but draw back, draw forward, diagonal, hitting block, crosscut. Okay. It does seem a little bit strange, right? Because it's a close range crosscut, right? Again, because we're also going from right to left, so this is a little bit shorter range. You can still get that range if you need to. It's not going to be nearly as powerful. This is a short range crosscut. Well, let's take a look, right? So all right, so this is not clear, right? So I was already engaging this one person. Again, I was in their dive and cut range, and I'm coming in for a block, right? Which means they're here, right? Let's talk about this, right? So what was the thing that kind of helped us understand the beginning of this form? Okay, first of all, one target, again, more likely than dispatching in 12. Okay, and also close range. So Bankuk has a lot of close range stuff, oddly enough, right? So you may not think about that way. Okay, so someone's giving me a center cut. I'm trying to absorb it and counter them. Okay, so from here, what they're going to do is, so we're both kind of close, right? What am I going to do? Now, if I want to dispatch you with a center cut or a dive cut or something like that, I need to get my distance back. But I just close the distance back in. What am I going to do next? Okay, well, I'm going to close distance even more. I'm going to come in this way. Again, this person's right here, right? They're not some distant person over there. I'm kind of oh, you ran away. I'm going to come in towards you. Because if you're fighting this person, why? So, for example, if I'm fighting you, dear listener, right? So if I'm here and I draw back and I counter you this way, why would I come here, right? Because you would need to be right here in order for me to do this, right? As opposed to over there. Okay, cool. So cut, close range, right? So they're right here. All I'm going to do is step with it and actually release pressure, which is really dangerous, right? Their sword is probably still attached to this one. What am I going to do? I'm going to release pressure, which is usually kind of an instinctual thing for them to attack me. What am I doing? There's pressure here, and I'm going to blow out. I'm going to step past them, stepping past their shoulder, and close range, use my hip to plow right through and kind of sever, again, slice through the belly, right? Cool, right? So all right, so I'm here, I cut in, they're getting close, instead of, again, what we normally do to get your distance back, maybe do a high guard, go back this way. No. This is old kingdom, this is old school, right? It's all right, I'm here, I'm coming in, I'm going to get close to you, again, almost look you in the eye, and then blow out. And from here, I'm going to just check before I go with the other person. Yeah, so this is one of the first, again, most visceral examples of that crosscut being used, first of all, close range, that might be new, but also just using it as our finisher. Cool. So number 2 has a lot of kind of cool concepts for us to play with. So what I'd like for you to do is, again, go through these, imagine different circumstances, right? So again, I talked about a few different ways, especially at the beginning of the form. Try to develop, again, your own interpretations. Again, at this point, again, you are, I believe you're Sandan, right? So you're going to be 3, you're 3rd degree, right? It's okay, at this point, you need to be thinking about not just, all right, this is what my instructor told me, this is how I'm going to do it. Okay, now he just said this, let me do this. No, this is your point. This is your, your time to really think about developing and kind of, again, second guess everything. So second guess this, is there a better way of doing this? Oh, this is the way I was taught. Is this a better way of interpreting it? And keep playing with these ideas, right? But as you can probably imagine, I'm also very excited about these 2 techniques because they're really fun. Yeah, so with that, so keep, again, going through these concepts in your mind, retroact them, right? So again, there are aspects of doing this in earlier forms. But again, I also want to kind of keep these videos a little bit shorter because I tend to talk way too much. Yeah, so with that, so keep training, stay humble, and stay safe. Haidong.